they nicknamed the Campus.
Campus.
Yes, Campus. So it sounds funny, but that was it. That was what they were calling me then when we were growing up. So, and my name is Camillus.
Yes.
That is my baptismal name.
Okay.
So I had to cut off the loose.
Okay.
Then the Campus, I have to cut off the US. Then I merged the Kami and the Camp, and that's why the name Kami Camp comes in. Anybody that cannot actually make money in this age, I think the person need to be retrained, because the world is a global village.
No.
So I wonder why people will have that mindset of making it so quick without processes. This apprenticeship or thing actually has had made a lot of billionaire. I found out that I gained a lot of experience from that, in the sense that if you are staying with your parents, sometimes you'll be pampered. Personally, I went through that process.
Okay.
For 10 years.
Wow.
Mine, I was, at a tender age, I left my parents. Then I was 12 years of age. Parents will tell you they are not encouraging their children to go into that processes again. They will be actually telling them, look at your neighbor, look at your brother, look at your relation, look at the other person's son. Look at what he is doing now. He's building house. He has returned back with a particular types of cars and so on. And by so doing, they will say no. They don't want you to go into that apprenticeship of a thing. They want you to just go to the city, make money, and come back. So these days, people don't actually ask their children, where or what area have you made your wealth from? I started with that small batcher. That's where I sampled my goods. That's where I slept for like 3 years or thereabout, before I was able to get a small face me I face you room. So one thing about business is this: is knowing when you are supposed to leave. You understand? Because I know a lot of my colleagues who are still into the same business the way we started them years back.
Yeah.
I told you here I started under batcher. What we call batcher is this wooden house that you stock in your goods there, not minding the mosquitoes, snakes that might be living under your batcher. But we stayed put, and today I live I have my own house where I live. I have today I've built plaza where I do my business. So, but if I was hopeless when my boss settled me that this little money gave me will not go anywhere, and I became hopeless. Today I won't be owning houses. I'll be owning my own plaza. So one thing about life is that no matter how little it is, start, but just be sincere with what you do. And put every effort in making sure that your one in a short while becomes 2, in a subsequent time becomes 10, and so you progress. This apprenticeship of a thing is more or less somebody who have gone through university. There is a lot of things we who has gone through apprenticeship of a thing learned, and that is one of the things we learned is how to manage your finances. Most of those things you see that is being studied in the university, actually those people who has gone through apprenticeship went through it too. Keeping records, taking inventories,
Know how to negotiate.
knowing how to negotiate, knowing how to talk to your clients, your customers, all those things we are taught when we pass through that apprenticeship of a thing. But there is a kind of saying, and I've heard it from several people, even from clergymen, that if people have not tagged you that you've soiled your hands, that means
You have not
you
started.
are not started. And it's only when people started,
Gossiping about you.
gossiping or having, a kind of confusion in their mind. How come this guy has gone this far? Where did he made his money from? it's only when people have that, confusion in their mind, that means you are progressing.
Progress. Wow. Welcome to another beautiful segment at the Unfiltered Dialogue. As you all know, here we talk without filter. You all know that every week we continue to bring in different guests from different walks of life with different experience as they take us through their experiences, their wealth of knowledge. Today's episode promises to be different because I am going to be talking about Igbo entrepreneurship style. And there is one person I cannot think of any other person than him. Because if somebody that I have watched him from when he started till where he is right now, he has also watched me all through the process. So of course, I can gladly say that this person understands what it is to be an entrepreneur. Sir, we welcome you on board.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Without wasting much time, I want you to tell us your name and tell us who you are and where you are from.
Okay, my name is Mr. Onu Camillus Chikel. I am from Enugu Ezike, who is the North Local Government area of Enugu State.
Wow. Tell us, sir, your company name, you bear Kami.
Yes, my company name is Kami Camp Investment Limited.
Where does the name come from? What's the inspiration behind the name?
My name is Camillus.
Okay.
It's a Catholic name anyways.
Okay.
So, and when I was growing up, my friends usually call me, they nickname me Campus.
Campus.
Yes, Campus. So it sounds funny, but that was it. That was what they were calling me then when we were growing up. So, and my name is Camillus.
Yes.
That is my baptismal name.
Okay.
So I had to cut off the loose.
Okay.
Then the campus, I have to cut off the US. Then I merged the Kami and the camp, and that's why the name Kami Camp comes in.
Yeah. Okay. What did you deal on? What do you basically?
Okay, right now I am into electronics.
Okay.
Household appliances, generators, inverters, solar, and batteries.
Okay.
And I do other things. There is other, streams of income, which is a passive income. Like I do venture into real estate.
Okay.
So these are passive income because I am not actually stationed on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate the fact that you are here. Let's go into the question for the day. And in Igbo culture, many successful Igbo entrepreneurs started by serving a mentor, which they call Eba Boy, Savoga. And did you also pass through this process? And if you did, how did that shaping you as a person?
Yeah, actually, I think is a very important lifestyle of the Igbo, ethnic group. This apprenticeship thing actually had made a lot of billionaire from the Igbo extraction. Personally, I went through that process for 10 years.
Wow.
Mine, I was, at a tender age, I left my parents. Then I was 12 years of age. I had to leave my parents, but mine was because of reason because I lost my mom when I was 12.
Okay.
So my uncle came and took me from my parents, and then I was actually schooling and I was also attending to business. So I used 4 years to complete my primary school,
Okay.
and also served for 6 years.
That's
And I was
10 years.
settled. That's 10 years.
Before we dive into other things, let's look during the period of service. How was it? How were you treated? What was the experience for you?
The thing is that, leaving your parents at that tender age, I can't actually say is the best thing to do at that age anyway. So I can't actually say it's the best thing to do. But as years progresses, I found out that I gained a lot of experience from that. In the sense that, if you are staying with your parents, sometimes you'll be pampered, and by so doing, you might not gain a lot of experience when you are supposed to gain them. But if you are staying under another basin, I think
Experience.
there must be experience you will be gaining from such experience, because you are not actually staying under your parents. So there is some things you don't need to do because you are not under your parents. So I think by so doing, there is a lot of things you learn. Staying under other people's care, not directly under your parents. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. You started from a very humble beginning. Can you take us back to those early days and tell us how the journey started for you,
Okay.
especially when you were settled?
So yeah, the thing is that mine was more or less very in a unique way,
Okay.
because when I was settled, I had to look back, and I realized that even if I am falling back, there is nothing. I won't be falling back on anything. So I have no option than to encourage myself, and I made sure I did not misuse the opportunity given to me, the little money
That was given.
that was given to me. I made sure, I minimized the kind of a lifestyle I lived then, and I started, then when we came to Abuja here, we were not having much relation. Then Abuja wasn't that much populated with relations. So then when we came, you're on your own. Basically, when I came, I started with a bacha, this wooden small hut. So I started with that small bacha. That's where I sampled my goods. That's where I slept for like 3 years or thereabout, before I was able to get a small face me I face you room. So I started on that note. But one thing in mind is that I was having a greater vision, but I know I cannot catch up with my vision without actually starting or actually maintaining the little
one
I started with.
Yeah.
So what I did is this. I started with a motorcycle spare part, but I know that the kind of level I want to get to, all those bike riders, they are not going to lead me to that level.
Yeah.
So what I did is this. I started with that motorcycle spare part. Then I migrated from motorcycle spare part to a generator. So from generator, I moved to electronics. From electronics, I also moved to solar panels and lithium batteries. And also I deal on all the big generators. So, and now I am into real estate too. So one thing about business is this, is knowing when you are supposed to leave. You understand? Because I know a lot of, my colleagues who are still into the same business, the way we started them years back.
Yeah.
So one thing about business is knowing when to leave. So when you know when to leave, I think it will be better for you.
Wow. Incredible journey so far. Now, let me ask you this, what were some of your biggest challenges you faced when you started your business, and how did you overcome them? Because we know business come with challenges. What are those challenges, and how did you, overcome some of those challenges?
Okay, I think the challenge I had was finance.
Okay.
Liquid cash. So I was not having enough cash to meet up to my target. So what I was praying for is just connection, because what actually matter might not even be the cash, but you having the right connection. So you to gain connection has to do with somebody giving you a trial. So what I was praying for them is that anybody I approach, let there be a trial. And by so doing, I think if they try me for once, I know I'm not going to fulfill them. And by so doing, they will be able to support me more. So what I did then was, the challenge I had when I started was, money, cash. So what I did is this: I had to, put in integrity.
Yeah.
That anybody who comes your way, you must make sure you satisfy such fellow. And, from your source where you are getting your goods from, let there be integrity. So I do not, have that mindset of, duping people. That anybody who actually releases his money or his goods to you, let your mind not be that you have seen opportunity to do away with the money. Rather, let be, a kind of add up to what you are already, as in, let them be having much trust that they too might even recommend you to others. So my life is this, through business, is that I've had that opportunity of, relating with my suppliers and having opportunity of them, connecting me to other of their colleagues. And that has, kept me moving.
Wow, this is really incredible. If I've got what you said right, the key thing is integrity.
Yes.
Because there are points where money may not play a part.
Exactly.
What people need to see is your sincerity, your honesty, and the way you handle that little money that was given to you.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing this. But again, looking at where you started and where you are today, what are key decisions and strategies that helps your business grow to this level today?
As I earlier said, is knowing the best time to live. If you want to if you want to be, how do I put it? If you want to be maybe a doctor, you got to start from, primary, secondary, then
Going to university to study.
you can't just say I want to be a doctor and by tomorrow you become a doctor. There is a process. So for me, I know I want to get to so and so level, but there must be a process. I know selling motorcycle spare parts will not lead me to the level I am now. So what I did is this: I started from motorcycle. It gets to a point where I know this time around I need to leave this stage. So I left motorcycle spare parts to, generating sets. So I started with smaller generators. In short, I started with a past my neighbor, I can remember. From then, I moved to a bigger, medium size. From the medium size to a bigger size. From the bigger size to the highest soundproof types.
Wow.
So, and after that, I realized that I think I need to actually, incorporate electronics to my generator business. Then I had to, start electronics business. So I think in life, this is how it should
Process.
be. There must be process. Okay. I don't know if I've answered.
You have answered it correctly, sir. You see, many young people want quick success today. From your experience, what mindsets or discipline is required to truly succeed in business?
The thing is that it marvels me a lot whereby Igbos were known for this apprenticeship of a thing. But these days, you hardly see people who are actually willing to go and serve. This quick money is actually affecting a lot of people,
Young people.
the society. How do I say so? I wonder why people will have that mindset of, making it so quick without processes. When when your mindset is on how you can go and deceive people to get their money, such money does not actually last, because you didn't go through process. So for me, a lot of people are going into what will not lead them for a long time. If you made money, through duping others, and you don't have, you've not actually studied about how to manage it, within a blink of an eye, that money will just vanish.
Sure.
But money that is sustained is money that has gone through processes. This apprentice of a thing is more or less somebody who have gone through university. There is a lot of things who has gone through apprenticeship of a thing learned. And that is one of the things we learned is how to manage your finances. Most of those things you see that is being studied in the university, actually, those people who has gone through apprenticeship went through it too. Keeping records, taking inventories.
Know how to negotiate.
Knowing how to negotiate, knowing how to, talk to your clients, your customers. All those things we are taught when we, pass through that apprenticeship of a thing. So for me, it is a plus if you are having the opportunity to go through such, thing like apprenticeship. It will actually shape your life and teach you on how you are going to manage your resources.
Let's talk about this Igbo apprenticeship scheme, which of course you also benefit from it. Looking at it back in the days and now, what do you think what are certain changes you think that needs to be made to be able, because at the end of the day, just like you have mentioned, people learn a lot from these processes, So what are measures you think that needs to be taken to also upgrade this Igbo entrepreneurship thing? Because sometimes we see cases where somebody goes to serve the boss several years, the boss did not settle, which of course I'll still ask you. I'm sure you must have also, some boys must have gone through your processes still. How was it? Were you able to settle them? How was it? Were you able to follow them on their businesses to be sure that they are doing well? Just take us through these processes.
Yeah, the encouragement I will give to people is this. In life, nothing is assured. It's only God that knows what will happen in the future. We as human beings, we are just living under assumption. You understand? So, but the thing is this, what we need to talk about over this issue of serving your master and not settling, is it has actually contributed or weakening this issue of apprenticeship of a thing.
Yeah.
Because some people will say, no, I cannot go and serve somebody after 5, 6 years, 7 years. You will just label me a thief or something of that nature, and you will just eject the person from your company completely or from your business without settling him. Say, for that reason, they don't want to go through that process of apprenticeship again. And I think if we are to make it a mandatory that if you bring in somebody to work under you, and after the agreed years, has reached, there is a mandatory that you must have to settle the person. I think that too will help, encouraging.
Maybe the government also coming in.
The government coming in, or maybe our zone, the southeastern zone, which are known for such areas of business. So if there is a law that will actually be put in place,
policy that can help,
or policy that if somebody leaves his father and mother to come and stay under you for some years, that it is a mandatory that you must have to settle the person. I think that will actually help.
Help a lot.
Another thing again is that makes people to to lack confidence in going through that process is, sometimes parents. Parents will tell you they are not encouraging their children to go into that processes again. They will be actually telling them, look at your neighbor, look at your brother, look at your relation, look at the other person's son. Look at what he is doing now. He's building house. He has returned back with a particular types of cars and so on. And by so doing, they will say no. They don't want you to go into that apprenticeship of a thing. They want you to just go to the city, make money, and come back. So these days, people don't actually ask their children, where or what area have you made your wealth from? You understand? So they don't actually encourage the little ones on how they should make their money legitimate. So what they're after is, this guy has returned home and he has built house, he has bought a car, not questioning what is your source of income. So, and because of this reason, and that's why I see a lot of people now, boys, young men or young boys, they have now ventured into this so-called
Yahoo and all of
things. So nobody wants to go into such processes of going through apprenticeship of a thing. So I think parents too should encourage their children, because most at times parents contribute a lot towards what their children becomes in life.
Thank you very much, sir. I just wanted to ask you this before we go. I don't know if you're aware of this, but for us that knows you, some people, I remember back in the days, some people say, Kamidiko, were you familiar? Have you come across any of such? What would you say regards to that?
No, for me, if you have a progressive mind, it's not every side stories you hear.
Okay.
Okay. For me, I'm an entrepreneur to the core, and I don't gossip on things that are not, factual. Okay, when it's something that is under, assumption, I don't actually put more interest on such kind of thing. But there is a kind of saying, and I've heard it from several people, even from, clergymen, that if people have not tagged you, that you've soiled your hands, that means
You have not started.
you are not started. It's only when people started,
Gossiping about you.
gossiping or having, a kind of confusion in their mind. How come this guy has gone this far? Where did he make his money from? it's only when people have that, confusion in their mind, that means you are progressing.
Progress. Wow.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. But before we go, just in 1 minute, what would be your advice for young people who also want to go into entrepreneurship, who also want to get to that level that you have also ascend to? Just in 1 minute.
Now this age now is a age of this is a digital age.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we should actually do it the old way,
Okay.
but rather we should improve, on the old way, in the sense that when we started, there was no telephone then. I think it was within the year I was settled, or before I got settled, that this GSM of a thing came to Nigeria. So one thing is this, following what trends. Anybody that cannot actually make money in this age, I think the person need to be retrained, because the world is a global village.
Now.
You see, most of my sales these days are actually gotten through online. And that's why it is good for you to know what is trending. A lot of people are still doing it that old ways. But these days, it's not supposed to be so. you can actually be here. I am seated here, but to be very sincere with you, somebody in America can be seeing me from this end.
Sure.
So what makes you not to make money when there is a lot of chances for you to make the money? So it marvels me that people are still doing it that old way, whereas there is opportunity that anything you know how to do, you can actually use it to make money. Leverage of what the gift God has given to you to make money. Okay? Nothing that is useless. Do you know, even if maybe you think that you have some, disability, that disability can actually fetch you money.
Yes, sure.
So you can see that there is even progress in your disability.
Yeah.
In this age and time, even with your local language, can actually be generating money.
Yeah.
Can actually be putting money in your purse.
Yeah.
So I don't see the reason why people are actually complaining that government is doing that, government is doing this, government is doing that. Whereas, what effort have you played on your part to make sure you succeed? For me, I stopped at primary school when I was settled, but that did not hinder me from progressing. I started secondary school on my own. High institution, I attended. I enrolled into high institution on my own. That I was, settled without going to secondary school did not stop me from progressing.
Yeah.
So one thing is this: knowing what is good for you, and having that courageous mind to go after what is good for you. So for the upcoming children, upcoming adult boys or girls, I think what they should do is this: do not be shy over what you do. It's never the end of what you become in life. Just start as little as you can. I told you here, I started, under bacha. What we call bacha is this wooden house that you stock in your goods there, not minding the mosquitoes, snakes that might be living under your bacha. But we stayed put, and today I live. I have my own house where I live. I have today I've built plaza where I do my business. So, but if I was hopeless when my boss settled me that this little money you gave me will not go anywhere, and I became hopeless. Today I won't be owning houses. I'll be owning my own plaza. So one thing about life is that no matter how little it takes, start, but just be sincere with what you do.
Wow.
And put every effort in making sure that your one in a short while becomes 2. In a subsequent time becomes 10. And so you progress.
Wow. It's been an amazing time with you, sir. Like I said earlier, I don't know who would have covered up this segment, but I'm glad that you honored our invitation and you share your wealth of knowledge with our audience. I want you guys to feel free to ask questions. Feel free to ask him questions. If you have any life-challenging question you think you needed to ask, feel free to comment, share. I'm sure he will be glad to also enlighten you on that. But just in case this is the first time you are seeing me and you have not subscribed to this channel, I say please subscribe and don't forget to follow me across all social media platforms. My name still remains Lawrence Okeke. Okweleme one Nanari. Up to the next one.
Habla Mónica, yo voy. Negativo y me voy.